Hello, Mr. Harnage. I'm Florian Auer, and we will take an interview about the childhood series of Horseland, which I like to watch as a child. And I have a few questions for you because you played a big role in Horseland or in the creation of Horseland. So at first, I would like to know who are you and what was your job at creating the series?
Well, I was working for a company called DIC, DIC, and I worked for them for almost 20 years. And my job was, I was the head writer, and I did mostly development. I would develop a project from nothing to a series that was ready to go. And usually at that point, someone else would take it over. With Horseland, that started as a computer game. And actually not a game exactly. It was like a website where you could trade and, imaginary horses. And you could stable them there. And, it was a lot of fun for kids who were into horses. And at that time, my daughter was into horses. So I was quite familiar with the stables and the horse girls, as I called them, because most of them were girls. And so when Deke decided to get together with the original Horseland creators, basically they made an agreement where they could use the name and anything from the website. But for what we wanted to do, it was much easier just to create it from scratch.
Yeah.
And what we did there was we started with a name. Horseland. What was Horseland? Well, it was a stable.
Yeah.
Where you could board horses and people would come and ride and have competitions and very much like the stable my daughter went to.
So you experienced a kind of Horseland in reality, and then you came up with the idea to put it in a series with the website as a starting point. Yeah.
Yes. And, kids knew the website, and they would tune in just because they wanted to see what the cartoon was like.
Yeah.
And, I had done a lot of shows up to that point. I mean, Super Mario Brothers, Sonic the Hedgehog, Captain Planet. But anybody that wants to know what shows I did can go to imeb.com.
Okay. Yeah.
The Internet Movie Database.
Oh, cool.
And they can see all my credits.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was tasked with making a show out of Horseland.
So you were asked by DIC because DIC knew your work, and then they said, okay, Mr. Harnage, it's your job now. Okay.
Well, I was actually employed by them at the time. And so it was part of my job description, creating new shows. Did
they say, okay, you must do a series about horses, or did you have free hand and could do what you wanted?
They just basically gave me the name, Horseland.
Okay.
And, we knew that the website, because it wasn't a game, we knew that there was a limit to what kind of stories you could tell. They didn't have any characters. They had horses, but, there really wasn't much there for a show. And so what you have to do as a, show creator is you come up with what's called a franchise.
Okay,
and the franchise is the setting of the show. And not just that, but everything that goes on in the show. And whether it's a world with magic or more reality-based, we didn't want Horseland to have magic. But what we did do, and this was the fun part for me, I just felt like it would be so interesting to hear what the horses thought about their masters.
Yeah.
So That was a conceit that we used, that the horses could talk to each other. We could hear them talk, but the humans in the show couldn't.
Yeah.
They just heard the horses whinny and, the
Yeah,
dog bark,
correct.
the pig squeal,
Yeah.
the cat meow.
Yeah.
Horses were talking
Yeah.
about each other and the kids.
And also the same with the dog, Shep, and the cat and the
Yes.
pig. Yeah, Teeny and Angora. Yeah. So they also
Yeah.
couldn't hear the humans. Yeah.
Angora was, she was our bad guy.
Yeah. So the bad guy of the animals and the bad guys in the people were Chloe and Zoe. Yeah. So they were like
And we
brothers.
didn't want to make any of the horses like really evil, but Chili and Pepper, they weren't very nice. But it was because they were arrogant. They felt they were superior to everybody else,
Yeah.
just like their owners, Chloe
Yeah.
and Zoe.
Yeah, correct. The two
And,
bad sisters. Yeah.
At the stables where my daughter rode, I was making a lot of money, but we could not afford to buy a horse.
Yeah.
That is really a rich person's game
Yeah.
because, number one, a good horse is very expensive. 50,000, 100,000. If you want to show a horse, the horse that you're going to do dressage or, jumping,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, you could spend $1 million.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
If you wanted a horse that could go to the Olympics and do well. So that's just the beginning. It's like buying a boat. It's the maintenance and the upkeep and the dock fees. And with the horses, it's the veterinarians and the stable fees and, all of the special feed. That's why Chloe and Zoe kind of felt superior to everybody else because they owned their horses and, they were rich. They came from a rich family.
So that was like the beginning of Horseland existing, and you was an executive story editor. So you were at the top and looked at every episode which was made, if everything is correct, and you also made stories by yourself, or didn't you?
I wrote some of the scripts myself. We had a co-story editor named Carter Crocker. The reason for that was we had a very tight schedule. We had to come up with 2 scripts a week. Now, that's a lot of work for one story editor. Because what the story editor does is, once the franchise of the show, once everything is established and approved, see, because creating a show is not just me coming up with great ideas and running with them. They have to be ideas that are approved by not only the executives at DIC, but also the executives at the broadcast channel and the executives at the Horseland website owners. So you had all 3 of those working together, or sometimes working against each other, but they had the final approval. So whatever they said, if they said, oh, we can't do this, well, you can't do that. Yeah. They were paying for it. The broadcasters really are the ones that have the ultimate final say because it's their money.
So it's like you and Carter Crocker being here and the broadcaster were always there, and so they had to say yes to everything.
They sort of jumped kind of from the development to the actual start of the show. In between there was a document that I wrote that we call the Animation Bible. The Bible should be so comprehensive that you could hand it to a good writer, an experienced animation writer, and it would have all the information that they would need in order to write a show. That was kind of the first step and the final step of the development. Once the Bible was approved by all of the entities involved, then we could start the show. Now, because writers really need something a little bit more than the Bible to work from, that's why there's this pilot script. And in the case of the show, the pilot script was, you can't judge a girl by her limo.
Yeah, so the first episode, yeah.
So that was the very first script written. I wrote it with Carter, and we both sort of story edited it, you know, and in doing that, you developed a lot of details that is just too much to put in the Bible. Like, you know, what kind of mannerisms a character would have, what kind of personality they bring to the dialogue and the action. A good writer can look at a pilot script and go, yeah, I get it.
Okay.
And then they can write another script using those characters and that setting and come up with a decent story and a, you know, halfway acceptable script. I say halfway because that's why we have story editors. They bring it from halfway to 100%.
Okay. Yeah, so without the story editors, it would never be a completed 100%.
Because you have to, you know, things have to be consistent. You know, you couldn't have Chloe being mean and then suddenly Chloe's a little angel and everybody loves her.
Yeah,
no,
obviously.
Chloe's not like that.
Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah.
And Sarah's our heroine, but she's also not perfect. Just coincidentally, my daughter is named Sarah.
Yeah, okay. Fun fact.
And here's a funny little detail. In the original Bible, I wrote Sarah to have auburn hair. Sort of dark reddish brown.
Yeah.
And the executives said, oh no, you can't do that. Because blondes sell better than brunettes.
Okay.
And they're thinking the dolls already. You know, selling the toys.
Yeah, so it was like the Barbie time and everyone wanted a blonde Barbie to play.
And then the brunettes came, you know, secondary.
Is Sarah one of your favorite characters, or who would you consider as your favorite character after 39 episodes made? Is it Sarah, or who would it be?
Well, Sarah's kind of my sentimental favorite because, you know, she's named after her and kind of a little bit like my daughter in real life. I had a lot of love for Chloe, believe it or not.
So one of your favorite characters would be Chloe.
Yeah, because you know what? Villains are much interesting than the good guys.
Because
in fact,
she brings spice.
Disney is going to come up with a show, or they've already got it, I don't know, called, you know, the Disney villains.
Yeah.
They're going to put all the villains from all the different shows, you know, Cruella de Vil, and, you know, all of the bad ones in one show. And I think that's a marvelous idea. Because they're much more fun to write for. That's just the way it is.
So it's like Sarah as your sentimental favorite character and Chloe because she brings up Spice as a bad character.
She's my favorite in terms of writing for her.
Writing,
you know?
You
know, because she can be sneaky and devious and two-faced. You know that expression?
Yeah, two-faced. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but is she also worse than her sister Zoey, or is Chloe a bit better than Zoey? Who would you consider as being worse?
I think Zoe's more in her sister's shadow, in a sense. You know, it's like a younger sister looking up to the big sister. They're only like a year apart, but Zoey sometimes is actually nicer than Chloe. And, you know, because she's almost like, she doesn't know enough yet to be as nasty as your sister.
Yeah. Okay.
But I also like Angora, and I like our little piglet, and
Tinium, the piglet. Yeah. Okay.
And Shep, I really didn't like Shep's voice in the show because he was too wise, and you know what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. However, his voice I think changed at the beginning of season 3. It got a bit higher and a bit less of this old deep voice. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that part of that is, which was an American company, was bought by Cookie Jar, which was a Canadian company, and things changed because in order to work for a Canadian company as a writer, you have to have dual citizenship. You have to have a Canadian citizenship because Canada gives their animation companies, all their entertainment companies, a big tax break for employing Canadian citizens.
Okay.
That was the end of my association with the show. And of course, they made the show a little different to make it more their own and, deal with some of the things that, I wasn't the only one that was thrilled with Shep's voice.
So when the series was produced from 2006 to 2009, was your end at 2009 or was it at 2008 or earlier?
Probably around 2008. The first 26 episodes.
So you were only part of the first 26 episodes and the other 13 weren't your jobs and Carter Crooker's job. Okay.
Yeah. We had developed a lot of the scripts for season 3, but they were changed and,
Yeah. However, when you said that you made the scripts also for season 3, then that's of course why you are also in the credits of the last episodes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Had to be.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, going back to the beginning of the show, the pilot script, there's no way that Carter and I could have written every script. Now, to write 2 full scripts a week is very difficult to do a good script. So the way the process worked is we had I think in entertainment we call it a cattle call. That's when you get, put out the word to agents and to, freelance writers and your friends, your writer friends. We're going to have a big writers meeting and we're going to present you with all the materials for this show.
Okay.
And we want you to come up with premises. In that big writers meeting, we give them the Bible, we give them the pilot script, and we talk about the show and we answer any questions they might have.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions because, in order to do a good script, you have to kind of really immerse yourself in the world of the show and the characters. Then after that, the writers went off and they came up with premises. Now, a premise doesn't have to be very long. Usually, it could be as short as 2 or 3 lines.
Okay.
It could be a paragraph, or it could be a whole page. It just depends on the writer. We don't advise writers to do a full page or more, because the more details they put in, the more likely they are to be wrong, because they're not, they haven't written the show yet.
Yeah.
And so we might get a premise like, Zoey decides to cheat during the competition and gets caught and has to make it up to everybody.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, crazy episode. Yeah,
really infuriates her.
yeah,
But that could be a premise. You can see the show that would come out of that.
yeah.
Um,
Understand.
or the one about the fire burning bright.
Yeah,
You know?
episode 5 in season 1. Yeah,
Zoey and Chloe
Yeah.
are lazy. They don't pay any attention to the warnings. And as
Yeah.
a result, they start a forest fire.
yeah,
And then they have to go into the lake to save themselves. And then
And-
they have a problem because they can't swim well.
yeah.
So, anyway,
That was gorgeous, yeah. And also it was like the same, so I think the same thing in the Whispering Gallery when they or when one of them heard something Molly said about Sarah being very stupid and a fool, but at the end
Yes,
she meant a
yes,
different
yes.
Sarah. Yeah, so harsh mistakes made by them.
well, it's really funny with rumors because if you put a bunch of people in a circle and you tell one person, you know, so-and-so is doing this and this and this.
Yeah,
Okay. And they tell the next person. And it goes around the circle.
yeah,
By the time it gets to the end, it's completely different.
yeah.
And even more outrageous. you
Yeah,
know.
correct.
So, you know, what happened then was we got a flood of premises from the writers. And we had to pick the premises on the basis of, well, would it make a good show? Would it be a good story? And also, do we know that this writer can produce a good script?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because in the early stages of the show, you don't want to give an inexperienced writer a shot, you know, when things are on such a time crunch and so
Yeah.
important. So we looked at the premises, and then the ones that we liked, we would hand back to the writer and say, okay, go to outline.
Okay.
That's the next step. And in the outline, basically it's like scene by scene by scene. You know, they don't have to write out everything that happens in the scene or all the dialogue.
Yeah.
But they do have to say what's going to happen and, you know, like what are the major characters doing in that
Okay.
scene.
Yeah.
And that's good because it makes the writer really think out the show.
Yeah, I understand.
And
Yeah.
then they turn the outline back to us. And by this time, Carter and I were basically working separately
Mm-hmm.
because I had to produce a script a week, he had to produce a script a week. And,
Yeah.
and you know, but we both knew the show, so we knew that the scripts would be, you know, pretty similar.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the next step then from the outline, as a story editor, is you have to go through it, say this works, this doesn't, the character would never do this, or they would do that instead.
Yeah.
You know, this
Okay.
horse might, I mean, you know, you're having these sort of parallel storylines. You've got the
Yeah.
people characters, and you got the horse characters,
Mm-hmm.
the animal characters. So sometimes that's the most crucial point is with the outline, because that is going to go back to the writer, and with that approved outline, with
Yeah.
the changes the story editor has made, then the next step is they go to first draft script. And
Yeah.
this is, you know, we're talking days and days,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't take weeks and weeks
Yeah.
because you just don't have that time in the schedule. So
Mm.
we would have to basically be churning out outline after outline after outline,
Yeah.
so that people will script right away. And the first draft script comes in. Oh, I'm blinking.
So, your picture was glitching. Yeah. Yeah.
Moving.
Go on.
Like,
Oh, okay. Now you're. Start a new call, and I would go on with my next question. So, what was your favorite episode in creating all of the 39 different episodes of Horseland?
oh boy. I rather liked the one that introduced our Native American character.
Yeah. The newbies. Yeah.
And the reason I kind of like that one is, this is something very few people know about me, that I am actually a citizen of the Cherokee Nation.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I know that probably some people that saw the show said, well, why was she a Cherokee? Why couldn't she be an Apache or a Sioux or an Oglala or, whatever.
Yeah.
She was a Cherokee because I'm Cherokee partially. And I know quite a bit about that culture.
Okay.
Not as much as somebody who was raised in that, because I didn't even know I was part Cherokee until I was, in my 30s.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because my father never talked about it.
Okay.
And what made the difference was I did Ancestry.com and I found out I was 6% Cherokee, and then I found out that I was descended from original Cherokees from the tribe, and that made me a citizen.
Okay.
Even though I'm not 100% Cherokee.
Yeah. And that's why you came up to the idea to add Nanny Cloud in the newbies or in an extra episode.
Yes.
So that's why this is your favorite episode.
I wouldn't, it's hard to have one and say that's my all-time favorite, because there are other episodes I liked, but that one stands out in a sense because I got to introduce somebody that you don't see in most TV shows.
Okay.
You don't see Indian characters. American Indian.
Yeah, American Indian, yeah. Because Indians...
Native American, really.
Yeah, because according to Zoey, Indians live in India.
Yeah, and it was fun because, Chloe and Zoey, of course, had stereotypes of what they thought Indians were like.
Yeah.
American Indians. And they got to be snarky and nasty and kind of prejudiced. So, they learned in the end that maybe some of their preconceptions weren't accurate. So that was kind of a little moral lesson. I mean, if you look at every show in Horseland has a moral lesson. We don't try to be obvious with the moral lessons. We don't try to hit people over the head with them. We don't try to be preachy. Now, sometimes Shep would kind of get preachy at the end because he was sort of summing up the message for everybody. But I kind of prefer not to do that, but that was not my choice.
Okay.
The network wanted that.
Yeah.
They felt that, you needed those social elements to make the show a success.
So there was also a part where you said as a story editor, okay, this isn't so nice for me, but I have to fit in, and when the authorities say, okay, I want Shep to be like that, then you had to accept that.
Yeah. I mean, it was, they were paying for it. So.
Okay. And what was like the goal of the series? Was it more of entertaining, or was it more of like teaching the children to be better humans, or was it both combined? What would it rather be? What do you think of the concept?
Well, the show had to be entertaining first. Because if it's not entertaining, kids don't watch.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have pro-social elements, moral elements, you want them to be subtle, because nobody likes to be preached to. And it's kind of like, when I did Sonic the Hedgehog, the studio had to do these things called PSAs, public service announcements. And they were little 30-second things where Sonic the Hedgehog would come out and say, now kids, you know, if a stranger comes up to you and offers you candy, it's probably not a good idea to take it.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to do that with Horseland, luckily. But, you know, we did have to have that little thing at the end where Shep sums up the story for us.
Yeah. So, however, it was like both entertaining and teaching, but entertaining here and teaching here in a more subtle way. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Then, so do you have anything to add, or?
I would only add that for kids who love animals, this is a perfect show, because if you love animals, you always wonder, what is that animal thinking?
Yeah.
Chances are, you know, my cat probably doesn't think much except like, when are you going to feed me? You know?
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, as humans, we tend to anthropomorphize animals, give them human characteristics. So when the cat sits there and stares at me, I'm thinking like, oh, stop it, you're making me feel guilty. You know,
Yeah.
the cat doesn't care, the cat's just wanting to get fed.
Yeah.
But then animals do have empathy. If you get really sad and you have an animal that you're close with, the animal senses that, and they will come up and they will, you know, give you a lick or a purr or you know, the dog might be very worried about you and put his paw on you and things like that. So horses do that too.
Yeah.
Horses have a real bond with their owners. And so if you mistreat a horse, the horse never forgets.
Yeah.
And if you treat your horse like you would like yourself to be treated, that horse will love you and that horse will be yours forever. And I hope the message, the ultimate message kids get from the show is, you know, animals have feelings too. They may not think the same way we do, but they have emotions and they care, and they really just want, well, they want to be fed. That's what they really want.
Yeah.
What I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Appreciating life other than human life.
Yeah, good. Then, Mr. Harnage, thank you for your time. Hopefully the people who watched Horseland many years ago as children got some new informations. And if you as the viewers have like questions, then you can type them in below the comment section, and maybe if there are enough questions, maybe Mr. Harnage would be ready for a second part, maybe. Why not?
Sure.
Yeah, but yeah, I have to see how the viewers think of it, and then I would say thank you very much, Mr. Harnage, for your time, and see you.
Happy trails.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye bye.